Hey guys, it's Sis, and today I'm going to be showing you guys how I usually go about killing Reshala. This is more so centered around killing him as a solo player, because that's typically how I do it, but you can do it with a duo as well, and it will make your life easier. Reshala is usually going to be one of the first bosses you learn how to fight in this game, just because Customs is more of a beginner map, so hopefully this video helps you guys out, and without further ado, let's just get right into it. Alright, so first off we're going to go over how to find him, and then I'll get a little bit more into how to actually kill him in these spots. So the first place you're going to want to look for him is the new gas station over on the main road. And the thing with this place is he can actually spawn all the way up to the scav sniper checkpoint, and he can just be running around in the grass and the hills all around that area. So make sure you're being careful when you're running down in that direction. And the second place, and honestly the more likely place you'll find him, and honestly the easier place to kill him, is the dorms area. Most of the time he spawns in 3-story, but you can actually find him in 2-story as well occasionally, so be sure you're checking both of those when you're looking for him. It's worth noting as well that Reshala actually has 4 guards with him, and then there's obviously Reshala himself. So when you find him, you're going to actually have to kill 4 of his guards and him. And you got to be careful with these guys because they like to nade spam the hell out of you. Especially if they spawn at a gas station, if they aggro on you, they're going to be lobbing grenades at you, so you got to be careful and make sure you're always moving. At dorms, I found it's not really that much of a problem. They kind of just derp around, so dorms is definitely the place you're going to want to be fighting them if it's possible. So before I go in raid and give you some tips on how to kill them in dorms or gas station, I wanted to make a quick section of this video dedicated to loadouts. So in terms of loadouts for Reshala, typically what I do for customs is run either a 7.62 MDR or an MP7. Both of these guns are more than enough to kill Reshala and deal with any PMCs that you happen to run by as well. Both of these weapons can get a bit pricey, so if you're looking for more budget options, you can run something like an AK-74N or an RPK with BS or BT ammo, and that will also be enough to kill Reshala for significantly cheaper than the MDR or MP7. And at the bottom here, we actually have grenades. The grenade that you choose to run with is ultimately up to you. If you have the money, I would recommend running VOGs just because they blow up a lot quicker, obviously. And honestly, grenades are just good in general, so I would recommend running probably at least 2 in every raid that you do if you can. But they are especially good for killing Reshala for a few reasons, which I'll get into in the next section. But to give you the little cliff notes right now, Reshala's guards love to clump up together. And honestly, a lot of the time that I kill him, you can kill most of his guards with just 1 grenade, and then you only really have to shoot 1 or 2 guards, and it makes life so much easier. And that's kind of all I have for loadouts here. I mostly focus on weapons here just to give you guys a little push in the right direction if you didn't know what to run or if you couldn't decide on what to run. So hopefully this section here helped you out, and now we will go over into the next section, which will be covering how to actually kill him in the raids. In terms of fighting Reshala dorms, this is definitely the place you want him to spawn if you're going to be fighting him, just because it is significantly easier to kill him here than gas station for my opinion. How I typically approach this is if I'm on the 3-story side, I will go by the metal stairs and actually open all 3 of the doors to see if any of his guards are roaming or just kind of standing still in the hallways. If you see any of them, all you really got to do is shoot them in the head a couple times and kill them, and they won't really react at first, so you can get at least 1 free kill before they even notice you're there, basically. Once I go inside, I typically go into the 3rd floor just because I find it to be significantly easier to fight him that way. Once you're inside, if you know his guards are on the same floor as you, what you can do is actually throw a grenade down the hallway, and one of 2 things typically happens. 1, they'll either yell and just stay in their rooms and you'll know exactly where they are, or 2, and honestly the more likely scenario, is they kind of just run at you in a straight line and you can either mow them down or they'll all die to the grenades. That's typically how I kill him. The grenades basically just do all the work for me. And then once you get that initial wave out, you can kind of clear room to room to make sure there's no stragglers. You got to be careful for the main stairs in this scenario just because his guards like to clump up on the stairs as well, and if they catch you off guard, they will kill you very, very quickly, so you got to be careful for that. And it's one of the reasons actually why I wouldn't recommend going in through the 1st floor. just because I feel like fighting him while you're looking upwards on the stairs is a lot more awkward, and honestly you're more likely to die in my experience doing it that way as opposed to just going in through third or even second. Honestly, just don't go through first. Going through first, I feel like, is the most likely for you to die. Going over to 2-story, what I typically like to do here if I spawn on this side is actually jump in through the back window by the bathroom. You can see here it didn't really work because all of his guards were just staring at the window for some reason. So what I ended up doing was going in through the second floor, which is another way you can do this, and then going down the stairs that way. You can see here that his guards were actually all standing in a circle in the hallway, so all you really have to do in that scenario is throw a grenade at them and they're all gonna die. All I did there was do that and then kill the 2 guards that ran at me, and that was basically it. It was like the easiest Reshala kill ever, and honestly that's how most of the fights go in dorms for me when it comes to killing Reshala. In terms of fighting Reshala at gas station, this is where it can get a little dangerous if you're not careful. As I said earlier in the video, they like to throw grenades at you once they aggro, so be ready for like 3 or 4 grenades to get thrown at you, and make sure you're always moving or else one will land at your feet and you're gonna die. Reshala likes to spawn in 3 main spots here at gas station, the first one being at the front, the second being inside, and the third being at the back by the blue fences or the trucks and stuff, which is probably the most likely place for you to find him. How I typically do this is I get as close as possible to him and try to isolate as many fights as I can so that I'm not fighting them all at once. I know this sounds easier said than done, but I still found that this is the best way to fight him here, just because his guards don't really insta-kill you a lot of the time if like you peek them, so you can actually peek them and get a free headshot off and then do that for all of the guards and move on that way. And lastly, if you spawn on the rocks and you're overlooking gas station and you happen to see him, what I would recommend doing is tossing grenades at him, just because the guards again like to be clumped up and a lot of the time they won't move and they'll just die to the grenades, or they'll run away and scatter, and it will make fighting them a lot easier because they're not going to be clumped up and you won't be peeking into 5 of them when you go into gas station. And that's kind of it for the Reshala guide. This isn't like Killa where you have to run a specific gun or specific route in order to consistently find him. You can kind of do this just by playing the game with whatever gun you're comfortable with, and you'll have a decent chance of killing him. Once you really understand his AI, it becomes a lot easier to kill him, and I hope you guys enjoyed this video as always and learned something new while watching this, and I'll see you guys in the next video.